Now, I want to talk about the ethical implications as it relates to AI development. I want to say it's time for us to go a bit deeper. I was raised in a pastor's home, and I often wonder what Reverend Mavis Joel Johnson would say if I told her about AI now. She's not around. But I must say that she has instilled a few thoughts in me that I still use to guide my world. I still miss her. However, let us move on by looking at the increasing use of artificial intelligence. I want to say that religious institutions must consider ethical considerations. As these communities look forward to leveraging AI tools, they must develop specialized framework to guide responsible development and deployment of AI. They must focus on bias, ensuring that algorithms are used in fairness, and of course do not adversely affect minority groups. They must ensure transparency and accountability around AI systems. And of course, let me also say that they must consider their theological teachings on humanity and creation. It must be a part of it. And of course, you must involve the community. It is important to ensure that expectations are in line and set up to introduce the population to the capabilities of the AI within the church. We have to do that. Religious leaders, let me say, have a responsibility to be proactive as it relates to evaluate AI through a theological lens. Before you disseminate the use of AI, it is important to really have that theological lens. Doing so will allow their communities to develop from these emerging new technologies while upholding the value, ethics, and care for all members in the church. This is so important. We have to understand the need for guidance and recommendations as we go forward. We must understand that there's not a jump in the box sort of approach with AI, but we must give it careful consideration. Think as it relates to biblical principles before you deploy AI in your church. Now, let us look at what is really required. We must have an ethical framework for AI in religious spaces. Religious institutions must develop specialized ethical frameworks to evaluate AI systems prior to the deployment in their communities. These frameworks should be aligned with the theological teachings and assessment for potential biases and harm as stated earlier. They also need to address potential biases and fairness. Any AI system used in a religious context must be thoroughly evaluated to ensure that they do not create harm to the group. I would also say there needs to be a third party auditing the important aspect of what is going to be implemented over time and identifying issues before it becomes mainstream in your church. We must understand the need for transparency and accountability as it relates to AI. Religious communities using AI must provide transparency in how these systems operate and impact decision making. I would say again that leaders must have the responsibility for monitoring these systems and correcting them if there are any issues at hand. Trust me, you have to have openness if you're going to bring AI into the church, especially when it comes on to doing certain tasks. Therefore, AI systems should be seen as a tool and not a replacement for humanity or to make ethical decisions. Let me also say that AI deployment in religious spaces should be developed with input and feedback from the community. Of course, that's important. Hence, leaders should be open as it relates to conversation and concerns and answer questions as these systems are designed. Remember, the AI should be a tool and not a replacement for anything in the church. Creation and the Creator, and of course life, are all connected to humanity and of course cannot be replaced. I want you to reflect on the questions I provided below. Take some time and look through them. You might want to do these questions with someone or reflect individually. Notwithstanding, I would recommend that you do this under the supervision of an elder in your church who is aware of AI and someone who can guide you. Thanks again, and let's look out for the next section that's coming up shortly.